What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today's video is going to be another highly requested video, kind of an update as to a video that I made quite a few months back, detailing my personal opinions as to the target of prioritization of treasure map characters in the treasure map exchange. So the blue tickets you get on treasure map, you're able to spend them to pick up older treasure map characters that you may have missed. A lot of people come into my streams over the past couple of days. A lot of them ask, which one should I pick up? If I'm a newer player, I don't know which one I need to pick up. The video that I did make a couple of months back still holds some relevance to now, but we have more characters that have released since then, so you get more of an opportunity to pick, a vast array of characters. And it would be quite overwhelming just walking into the treasure map shop and seeing so many characters to choose from. I can definitely understand why people want to know and want a bit of guidance as to which characters are the best. Now, this list that I've put together is by no means like the end-all be-all, you have to follow this list. This is just my personal, subjective opinion as to what I think are the best treasure map characters in the game. You may have differing opinions, and that's completely okay, but as I said, for this video, you do not have to follow this exactly. This is just my guidance as to what I personally think are the most used treasure map characters and will be the most useful for your personal account. So let's go ahead and get started here with tier number 4. So it's obviously a multi-tiered system, very similar to my tier list videos, but as I said, it's completely subjective. But I think the worst treasure map character in the game is Kizaru. Kizaru has a special ability where if you use his special, he will go ahead and boost your crew's attack by 1.75 on the same type color that your captain is. So if you have him as a sub and your captain is strength, he's going to boost strength characters attack by 1.75. I think he does a health cut as well. Just overall, he hasn't really seen play. He's not that useful overall in other treasure maps, because obviously all the treasure map characters are boosted on every single other treasure map. On other treasure maps, he has seen some play here and there, but overall, just looking at it at a glance, and you look at the list of treasure map characters, I have never used Kizaru outside of another treasure map, and even when I did use him in the treasure map, it was literally for one particular fight a couple of treasure maps ago. He really was not that useful overall, and I just do not suggest picking him up with your tickets, as there are so many other better characters to choose from. The only reason why you should be picking up Kizaru is if he's the final character you don't have out of all of these guys. So, put that into perspective there. The next tier here, tier number 3, these are characters that are, these characters are actually good. They have pretty good specials, and, well, Sanji and Zoro have a pretty good captain ability. But it's the fact that they really don't see play in content. This is, again, my personal opinion. I really haven't seen a usage for Sanji and Zoro and Mihawk. Now, if you are a player that really doesn't have a lot of legends, that might differ. Now, this is where things would come into it, where the playstyle between me and another player may be completely different, because personally the way that I look at this list would be in terms of characters that are going to be really good subunits to support the captains that I'm going to be using. With Sanji and Zoro, they're actually a pretty decent captain. They're a 3.75 Dex and Psi captain when they're fully combined, but for a free-to-play dual unit, they don't combine for 3 turns. You only get their combination for 1 turn, which is a pretty big drawback. They are also an orb booster for the Dex and Psi teams as well, so they're pretty decent overall. Mihawk is a pretty good sub as well, with a 2x orb boost and a 2.75 chain lock to slashes. But the thing is he's a Mihawk character, and there are so many other Mihawks in the game that they kind of fight for their own position in their own teams. So that's the big drawback of Mihawk. But Mihawk is still going to see play here and there, just not as much play as some of the other treasure map characters. I will eventually pull up the database for me to talk about some certain characters as to why they're extremely useful, but these 2 bottom tiers, I would forget about them for now until you start picking up the rest of the characters, and then move on to these guys a little bit later. So moving on to the next tier here, tier 2, these are a bunch of characters that they're not like the best characters in the game, but they're actually not the worst either. These characters are pretty usable, and I use them on a regular basis. Treasure Map Whitebeard, dude, he is awesome. I use Treasure Map Whitebeard nearly every single treasure map on a team. The reason for that is because he has a special ability that does a massive amount of wave clear damage that bypasses defensive effects, which is great. If the enemy has a debuff or a delay protector, you get an orb boost for your entire team. And if the enemy has a barrier, he boosts his own personal attack by 2.25 or 2 times for 1 turn. So in other treasure maps, this guy's going to see play in nearly every single treasure map that you play further on. So he's really awesome. And he's actually seen play in like Colosseums and other raid bosses. The main component about Whitebeard that's so great is his wave clear through barriers and defensive effects, and also that orb boost, because for the enemy to have delay immunity or all status effects immunity, that is a very, very common practice for bosses to have in One Piece treasure cruise. So with Whitebeard, you're going to be getting his effects off quite often, honestly. Moving on to Luffy, he is a universal 1.75 color affinity booster. Normally, if this was literally like, you know, maybe scale it back to the start of the year, Luffy would probably be in that top echelon. But the thing about it is there are so many color affinity boosters in the game now, or just there are certain circumstances where you probably don't even need to bring a color affinity booster. So Monkey D. Luffy, he is very, very good still. He also does shuffle away block orbs, so it's nice to have the ability to shuffle those away. But I just don't think he's really that useful nowadays. He has a pretty terrible captain ability as well, in my opinion. Just overall, he's not going to see much play. He does work in a lot of different teams, considering his classes are pretty decent. I think he's Free Spirit Powerhouse, so he can fit in a lot of teams. But once again, same problem as Mihawk is that he's a Luffy character, and we have a lot of Luffy characters in the game. If you're like starting a new account and you want to, you know, decide on which character to pick up from the treasure map shop, more likely than not, you re-rolled for the quick gear 4 Luffy from the re-rolling thing. So you wouldn't need this Luffy if you're going to be using Gear 4 Luffy Legend. So, you know, that's just something to think about. But the next one is Ace. Ace is not too bad, actually. I was actually tempted to put him in the next tier above. But again, remember, it's all subjective, so you can have a differing opinion. It's completely okay. But Ace is pretty decent. He has a really good captain ability still. 3.44, I think, times boost if you have a strength orb. Special ability is amazing. Getting rid of block orbs. He gets rid of all types of orbs. Full board of strength orbs, and if your captain is, I believe, and I just double checked it, but if you have a free spirit character as your captain, those strength orbs are going to be counted as beneficial to strength, quick, and psi. Pretty awesome character overall. The thing about it is like, even though he's a type booster, full board orb manipulator and all that, enemies can react to a lot of different things here, which is kind of annoying, but just he has pretty good classes as well. Just he will see play in a lot of content. If you guys remember the Raid Judge or the EX Raid Judge that came out recently, like Treasure Map Ace was a perfect character for that. He guarantees you those strength orbs to bypass that strength orb barrier that he had. So that's just one piece of content in particular, but for any Dex piece of content, like Ace will demolish it. Also partners really well with Legend Akainu version 1, who is getting his 6+ very soon, so that's something to think about as well. And then we go move on to Boa Hancock. Boa Hancock is an interesting one. I think a lot of people underrate Boa Hancock, and understandably people make the point that, you know, you don't really need to use her that often. I completely understand that, but you still got to look at the fact that Boa Hancock is actually pretty decent. So with her special ability, she does so many different things. So first of all, 80% defense reduction for 1 turn, so that's pretty okay. Reduces enemies' threshold, attack up, end of turn healing, and resilience by 2 turns. Now remember, she does have double special activation, so you can remove 4 turns of threshold and 4 turns of resilience. The end of turn healing and attack up, no one really cares about that. You can just completely disregard that. But resilience and threshold removal by 4 turns is no joke. That's pretty useful. Like, even on a team where, you know, you're not even running shooter characters, like if you're running just an int team, if you're running a free spirit team, or if you are running a shooter team, this character is going to be awesome for removing threshold or resilience for a free-to-play character. Plus, because she does have double special activation, you get the 10,000 recovery for both activations, so you get 20,000 HP back, and then obviously you get all of the other effects. She does also provide a conditional boost if your captain has an int orb when you activate the special, because that is not relying on anything being a shooter. If you just have an int orb, you can get a guaranteed conditional boost, so that's awesome as well. There's so many good things to love about this Boa Hancock. She does have a good captain ability too. She's a shooter captain if I remember correctly. Yeah, starts off at 2.25 and then eventually stacks up to 3.25 after you defeat 6 enemies. So if you are a player that wants to start building shooter teams, Boa Hancock is a good place to start. Now, the next 3 characters here, the Driven Squad, I've kind of dubbed it as, because you have Cavendish, Kaito, Doflamingo, all are driven characters and all can be used on their same teams. Cavendish is great. He's an attack and orb booster for driven. He also changed badly matching orbs into matching, so that's pretty decent. So if you are looking to start building driven teams, you could start with Cavendish as well. There's no like real order here. You could start with Whitebeard and then go to Boa. Like these are not in order of, you know, like how you should pick up the characters. But I think that if you want to start building certain teams, then you should start looking at this for this particular tier. The tiers above, they're just good all-round characters, but obviously when you have a character like Doflamingo, he only really works on a driven team. He does give you some damage reduction and a full board of orbs and stuff. He's not super duper useful. He has a decent captain ability, I guess. Kaito is an interesting one. I was tempted to put him a little bit above because he has a very, very, very interesting effect where he boosts his own attack by such a humongous margin. But again, it's the same thing where, like, it's kind of like Ace, where he's only really going to be hitting very, very hard against Dex piece of content. He will still hit hard on other pieces of content that isn't Dex, but you're going to get the most out of him against Dex bosses. So I guess the Driven squad, they're all good. They're all really, really good. But I'd say I would hold off on that until maybe you have Barto and Cavendish, because then you could probably get a little bit more out of these characters. Or V2 Doflamingo, you could start working with these two guys. Kaito is actually pretty good with V2 Doflamingo, actually. You can get some pretty amazing overkill damage with Kaito, so that's actually a pretty good combination. But it's just something to think about. These characters are good, but I think that Whitebeard for his usability, Ace for his usability, and the utility from Boa, I think they're a little bit better than the power that the driven characters will provide. And Crocodile is another interesting one as well, the fact that he has an ability where he can become the captain, and when he does become the captain, you get way more beneficial orbs, and he also becomes a 4 times captain. That is going to be huge if you don't have that many good captains. Having this guy as a sub to then become the captain is actually pretty nice. Unfortunately, it's only for 1 turn, so you can't really bypass effects with preemptive attacks that will change your captain. That's a pretty big downside to the character. But, I mean, despite that, Crocodile, I've used him quite often on V1 Katakuri teams, that is. Also very good for buggy teams or for Neptune teams. Though if you have Legend Jack, you can kind of disregard that as well. You won't really need Crocodile on a Legend Jack team, but it's just something to think about. Those characters are all pretty decent. Now, that was the biggest tier. Moving on to tier 1, we have Law. Law's very interesting. If you have Legend Corazon, Law might be a very, very good pickup, because the reason is Corazon can support Law, and then anytime you get Binded or Despaired, he removes 2 turns of that. Corazon also removes 2 turns of Bind and Despair. So you can remove 4 turns of Bind and Despair just with having Corazon attached to this treasure map character. Another great thing about Law is that he gives you, he gives the adjacent orbs and his own orb become matching. And he gives you I think it's a 0.7 chain boost or something like that. It might be a 0.5 chain boost. I'm pretty sure it's 0.7 Trafalgar Law. 0.7 chain boost, yeah, and he also is a cooldown reducer for Fighter Slasher, Cerebral, and Free Spirit. This guy's pretty awesome, honestly. I've been using him relatively recently on Legend Carrot teams, pretty awesome for that, and it's mainly just the synergy with Legend Corazon. The next one after that is Jack. Jack is crazy, dude. I remember when Jack first came out, a lot of people were pretty disappointed in him. But honestly, Legend Jack is probably one of the better free-to-play characters that you can pick up. The reason for that is because he has a special that scales damage depending on how many enemies are on the field. So if there's 6 enemies on the field, when you pop Jack's special, the enemy that you target gets dealt 2 million fixed damage that goes through barriers and all defensive effects. On top of that, he also removes 2 turns of Rainbow Shield and 2 turns of Damage Nullification, which is the shield where the enemy can't take damage. There aren't that many characters in the game that can remove damage nullification, so having utility like that is pretty important. So I think Jack is a very, very strong pickup from tier 1. Shanks is pretty decent as well. He has a really nice special that can shuffle your block orbs away. He also has a really high chance of getting matching orbs, and he also adds tap timing bonus, and he has double special activation, so you can use it on multiple rooms. And also, when you use his special ability, I believe he removes Burn and Barrier, if I remember correctly. I believe it's Burn and Barrier? Where is it? Yeah, enemy barrier by 1 turn, reduces burn by 1 turn. This guy's awesome, dude. The fact that you can pop it twice on the same turn to remove 2 turns of barrier, dude, this character's amazing. I think Shanks is also a very solid pickup to have. He actually has a pretty usable captain ability as well, and makes Dex beneficial for all characters. That's always a big positive. And he also is a 3 times captain as long as you're at full HP for Free Spirit and Cerebral as well. Smoothie and Oven. Smoothie and Oven are pretty awesome as well. They have a very good special ability of being an orb booster for Psy and Quick, and they have a very good captain ability of being a 3.75, I do believe. I do believe they are going to be 3.75 after combined. 3.75 for Quick, Psy, and Int. Forgot about the int. I actually forgot about that completely. I completely forgot that they boost that random color for no goddamn reason. So that is awesome. And yeah, they also give you the 2x orb boost for 2 turns. And they actually combine for 2 turns. So that's pretty interesting. Unfortunately, you know, you can't carry it through preemptive attacks in different stages. But the fact that you can have it for 2 turns, it's not that big of a difference, but sometimes that might come in clutch. Their swap effect is interesting as well because they make quick psi orbs beneficial to quick psi and int. Pretty awesome with the fact that their special ability randomizes your orbs as well. So it's a pretty decent character overall and actually really useful in other treasure maps as you can use their switch effect to KO lots of mob stages. So that's a big positive. Now, treasure map Sabo is a very old character. Some people might disagree with this choice, but honestly, I've used treasure map Sabo a lot in my day playing One Piece Treasure Cruise, and having a character like this character is awesome. So for those of you who don't remember what Sabo does, he changes all the type orbs into matching. And your captain has to be cerebral in order for it to work. So that's a pretty big downside to begin with. But if you do fulfill that condition, your type orbs become matching and also will be a self-proccing defense down conditional booster, reducing defense by 80% and also giving you the 1.75 conditional boost. Character is very, very powerful and also making Dex Orbs beneficial to all characters. There are so many characters that make Dex beneficial to everyone. Sabo, I've used him so much back in the day. I haven't used him so much nowadays because the meta has kind of shifted from moving from cerebral more to powerhouse related meta. Though, I think that having a character like Treasure Map Sabo on like Neko and Inu, if you have Neko and Inu, that's a very good pickup for that team. The fact that you can change your orbs into matching and get that self-proccing conditional that stacks on top of Neko and Inu's color affinity, attack boost, and orb boost. So I think it's a very, very good pickup for that specifically. And then the top tier, these are the characters that you should 100% focus on first for picking up characters in the treasure map shop. Big Mom. Dude, Big Mom, I think, is hands down the best treasure map character in the game. People might disagree, as I said once again, but how can you disagree? And I got rid of my filters. How can you disagree with what Big Mom does, dude? Big Mom is phenomenal. Now, disregard her captain ability. No one is using her as a captain these days. The fact as a sub, the fact that she cannot be blown away, that is pretty useful for certain pieces of content. But 12 turn cooldown, which is so low, removes all positive buffs on your team. Sometimes that can be a bummer, but changes all orbs, including block, into G orbs, amplifies your orbs by 3 times for 1 turn. You get a 1.25 attack boost and a 1.25 color affinity. She provides all those buffs and a full board of orbs guaranteed. So after you use this special, you can use any other special ability to change G orbs into matching or shuffle away your G orbs into potentially positive orbs. This character is the best in the game. The fact that you can pop this special and you can KO so many things just with this special ability alone, this is going to enhance your teams by crazy, crazy margins. So I would suggest, if you haven't started, feeding characters or getting characters from the treasure map shop, target down Big Mom first. I use her so much. She is awesome. She is really powerful. Now, Treasure Map NL, I don't really know if he's the second best, but he's really good. Treasure Map NL has a very, very unique effect where he has like a mass amount of AoE damage with his special, right? 565,600 fixed damage to all enemies and locks orb for 1 turn. 15 turn cooldown, that's really good, right? But he has the Sailor ability. When any other character uses a special, reduces his own cooldown by 5. You can pop his special, use 3 more specials, then pop it again. Guaranteed to get this fixed damage, dude. Just that alone is awesome, but then he has a great captain ability as well, being a 2.5 rainbow, and then will automatically deal that amount of side damage to all enemies at the end of the turn, and also recovers HP at the end of the turn. This guy is a god for Fortnite runs. If you're not really too keen on utilizing EXP teams, like if you don't really want to use Neptune because he's kind of slow, or if you don't have Legend Jack, then this guy's going to be the next best thing. What I personally do for Fortnites nowadays, I use Treasure Map NL as the captain, and my friend captain, I just use a friend Jack. So you're getting the best of speed with NL, but you're also getting a pretty good amount of EXP with a friend Jack. That's the way that I've been using NL recently, and I've been using him for just random pieces of content. Do you guys remember when Raid Capone came out? You should go check out the video that I made for it, because I used a carrot team that utilized this guy, and you can just spam this out so many different times, right? Oh, dude, NL is the best. He is so much fun to use. The way that you can just pop that special so many times, and it's so useful, like not even just in like outside of Treasure Map, but in Treasure Maps as well. Like you're guaranteed to KO a lot of things with that amount of fixed damage, dude. NL's a god. He literally is a god. Now, Weevil just came out recently. Many of you guys out there would know what he's all about. He removes 20 turns of attack down. He adds mass amount of tap timing bonus damage to his own attacks. And if your enemies have a all debuff immunity or a delay immunity, similar to Treasure Map Whitebeard, 2 times attack to your whole team. That alone, he's easily tier 0. Just a rainbow 2 times attack if they have an immunity buff, which is very, very common in this game. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And then Nami. Now, Nami, I was tempted to put her in the tier below, but Nami, honestly, is pretty freaking cool. So, the cool thing about Nami is that she just removes, like, a bunch of debuffs for no reason, right? So, she also reduces silence on herself by 3 turns. So, if you're ever in a situation where you do get special blinded, you'd probably want to bring a special bind remover. Unfortunately, this character does not remove it, but she's still a really great character. The fact that she can reduce paralysis, attack down, chain multiplier limit, chain coefficient reduction, burn, and blindness by 3 turns, and block and badly matching switched into matching. Boom. Dude, this character's awesome. Then you've also got paralysis, which is great. You can remove paralysis. Attack down. Now, if you have Edward Weevil, he removes 20 turns of it. But Nami has different classes. She is a cerebral striker. I believe Weevil is a striker as well. But, you know, having this character on a cerebral team, and then you can have Edward Weevil on a slasher team, there's lots of different ways around it. You want to have different variety for different classes and colors. So you have Nami that does that. Chain multiplier limit and chain coefficient reduction. That's always going to be a good thing to remove. Really limits your damage if you get inflicted with that debuff. So removing that is great. Removing burn is pretty big as well. Blindness, I mean, that's a subjective one as well. If you're good at playing the game, blindness won't really, you know, hinder you too much. Myself personally, I still get annoyed with blindness, and I always like to have a unit that can get rid of it, so that's a big positive. Nami is just a great utility unit all around. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea as to what I personally think are the best treasure map characters in the game. The link to this IMGO will be down below in the description, so you can, you know, obviously use it as a reference later on for my personal listings, but honestly, like, the characters in tier 0 and tier 1, this is what you should be going for first, and then once you've picked up all these characters here, then you can start working your way down this list here. But I think that easily these characters in tier 0 and tier 1 are the ones that you should be focusing on with the blue treasure map ticket. So I really hope this gave you a pretty good guidance as to what I personally think are the best characters in the game, and if it did, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.